Nuts almost won.
Welcome back. It's the Ant-Man show.
I'll leave the window open or close it. I think it'll be fine, right?
Welcome back to MCU Review, where all we do is review Ant-Man over and over again every single week. We watch it multiple times and see if we can get anything new out of it.
Dude, whenever I'm on like the phone and
Actually, that might generate a ton of views.
I go. Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Reviewers Assemble. My name is Kyle, joined once again by Victor and by Garrett. Again, OG crew. We did Age of Ultron last week. We're doing Ant-Man today. The movie that kind of came out of nowhere, starring Paul Rudd. I don't think anyone really expected this movie to do well, and I think it did pretty well. Maybe we'll look at box office numbers later, but what do you guys kind of think of initial thoughts? Or Vic, I know you usually are kind of the lead-off man here.
Want to recap it a little?
Yeah, whatever you want to go into.
You know, I'm not the most educated on this movie. I've seen it a few times now, but I do like it a lot. So Paul Rudd plays an ex-convict who has a lot of skills. He's a master electrician. He mentions that. He's obviously a great thief. And Hank Pym, who's a scientist who I don't think... Have we seen anything with him in it yet?
In the MCU?
I don't think we've seen him yet.
I don't think so.
But he creates Pym particles, which is a technology that goes back to the time when Howard Stark was still around.
It's like a flashback, right?
It's a flashback. Yeah, they actually started in 1989 with Howard Stark and Hank Pym. And basically Hank Pym, as an older guy, played by Michael Douglas, he wants to develop someone to take over the technology that he used to use as a military person. I mean, he was part of the military at one point. So he's basically turning a brilliant thief and convict into a hero in some sense. So really kind of a complex story as to how it gets from point A to point B, but really cool story. And, you know, we're obviously excited to kind of tell you our opinions and thoughts about it. So do one of you guys want to lead off first with best scene?
Kyle, why don't you lead us off?
I'll go off.
We never start from the middle, working our way out.
I know, it's because I'm the host, so I usually like to give...
If you want me to keep talking, I'll keep talking.
No, I'll go. Best scenes, I immediately think of... There's a lot of good scenes in this movie. I think of the bathtub scene where he first shrinks down in the suit. Those effects are super cool, where he's like in the bathtub and Hank Pym, you said, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's like talking to him in his ear. He like steals the suit. I guess previously before that, when he's breaking into the vault, that's really cool, where he freezes the lock.
Yeah.
And then he like steps away and like he puts up the blanket because he knows like the pieces are gonna fly off. And then they break into the suit, into the vault, I should say, and it's just a suit. And they're like, "What the hell is this?" It's like an old motorcycle suit. But he's like, he takes it anyway because, you know, he's like, obviously there's
The interest caught his eye. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like obviously there's a reason that this suit is behind like this like high security safe. And then he like shrinks down, goes in the bathtub, and that's when like Michael Pena's character shows up. He turns on like the faucet, and he's running from the particles. That whole sequence is really cool because he's like going through like a club, and he's like avoiding all the feet. And it's like, wow, if you shrunk down that, like, there's all these things that you would have to be like terrified of that could end you, like immediately. So that scene is awesome. I think the whole group dynamic between Michael Pena's character T.I. and then the guy, I think is he in Dark Knight? Is he the villain? Or that guy, I think he's like the Joker toxin guy.
Oh, no.
No, that's not scary.
But he is in it, you're right.
The other guy.
You're 100% right.
He's the hostage or whatever. What's his name?
Yep.
Right, yeah.
I'm trying to look it up. You're 100% right.
He like, because he has such a distinct face where I'm like, this guy is always like, he plays always like the crazy character. Although in this he's kind of just like a quiet hacker. And
oh man, what was he in that?
Anyway, Vic will look that up while we're waiting, but yeah, I think their whole dynamic is awesome. Like Michael Pena is hilarious, where like they're always doing like the recap. Yeah, it's a great group. We get the flashback where he's like working at Baskin Robbins, and then like they find out about his crime, and he's like, "Man, that's so cool," but he's like, "You're definitely fired." And then he comes back home, and they're like, "Oh man, aren't you supposed to be at work?" And he's like. He's like, man, they found out, and they're like, Baskin Robbins always finds out.
Yeah, that is a funny compliment.
The manager at Baskin Robbins said that. He's like, oh, you found out? Baskin Robbins always
Yeah,
finds out.
he always knows, yeah.
So that character is David Dastmalchian?
That's
But
he's in Dark Knight, right?
He's in Dark Knight, so he is a schizophrenic person.
Yes.
And I remember Harvey's about to beat him up, and Batman shows up, and he's like, he's just
in the back of the ambulance, right?
Yeah. He's like, he's a schizophrenic. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. So you're right. That's a good connection right there.
It's kind of a different role for him in this movie though, because he's like a hacker. He plays like the foreign hacker, I think.
Yeah.
So he's actually not as like crazy. He usually does play like the crazy guy. He just has like a kind of like a, I don't want to say an evil face, but like he has like.
He's got a creepy looking face.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
like I think he gets like typecast a lot as that, but like it's cool. So
He
I
was
saw
funny
him.
in this though.
He was funny, yeah. There's a lot of humor in this movie. It's just like a good time, I think, from beginning to end. Where like it's like a good, like they kind of like let loose with it. I mean, Ant-Man is like you can't really make like a serious like.
It's a one-off from all the like serious characters.
Yeah, it's a good break in the MCU where it's like especially coming off like Ultron, where we had like all action and it's like serious and Ultron's trying to take over. And this is just like a good time.
It's more under like the Guardians of the Galaxy side, where it's a little more laid back in a sense.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yeah. So I think that was good. There's just a lot of good scenes. The end fight scene is awesome, where like the Thomas the Tank Engine and it gets like thrown out the window. Every time he went like small, like when they're fighting like, the briefcase in the plane, there's like so many cool effects in this movie where they did a really really good job. Garrett, you said this off camera, where like. They do a good job of like doing like full blown action scenes, but like when he's small, but then like also making him big. You explained it a little bit better if you want to kind of touch on.
Yeah, so I'll just jump into my best scene and I'll touch on that really quickly. So my best scene is probably the fight scene at the end, especially when they're going around the train set and like all of a sudden, so like it seems like a full blown action scene, and you have the main villain, and the protagonist Paul Rudd, and they're fighting it out, and it's a normal action movie. It's a normal superhero movie. But then you're caught up in that, and then all of a sudden the camera will pan out, and you'll realize like, oh, you're in an 8-year-old's bedroom.
It's like a toy crash,
and it's a toy train falling 3 feet off a track.
Yeah, like when it lands on the windowsill, like, it's so funny.
The music's like building, and then it just cuts out. It's like
so it's cool. But to what you were saying, what I was saying earlier, it's a really cool visual shot, but also it's how Ant-Man fights. It's a blend of being small and then becoming large. So he's small, does what he needs to do, and then when he like all of a sudden he's like, oh, I want to put this guy in a headlock, like I'm gonna enlarge and attack him that way. So it's a really cool balance, and it gives him an advantage, and obviously in that aspect. But yeah, my favorite scene is easily just when they're fighting on that little railroad track in the girl's bedroom, and she's watching them, and she thinks it's kind of just funny.
Which it is.
Yeah, it really is.
They did a good job.
So for me, it's all of the training stuff. So once it's Hope, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe it's Hope.
Who plays Wasp?
Yeah.
Actually.
So once Hope and Hank Pym decide to make him the Ant-Man and they start training, it starts off with such a great scene, and they're like, they shut the door and they're like,
the keyhole scene.
Yeah, shrink and go through the keyhole. But all of it, like the developmental side of that, from like learning how to control all the different types of ants, or like when he goes underground for the first time and the ants attack him, he like blows up to full size and like blows up the dirt.
That was way scary like 2 minutes ago.
Gets immediately afraid of the ants.
Yeah.
But then like the karate stuff or the taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, whatever, like all that training, and then like they slowly build their relationship, which we've kind of shit on the Marvel movies in the past, like how they lack the development of relationships. They did a great job with this, and obviously at the end they end up like kissing and stuff, and they have that little comedic point with Hank. But that was definitely my favorite. I love seeing the development of characters, and they did a great job like making him more than just a thief. Like they taught him the physical like attributes he needed to be successful. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that scene where he's trying to control the ants, where they like put the sugar in the tea or whatever.
Oh, and then Hope takes over?
That was really cool, because he's like, how do you make them do that? Or he's like, oh, would you like some what does he say, you want some sugar? And then like the 2 ants bring it over, he's like, I'm all set. He's like, never mind, I'm good.
It was funny.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's funny, I'll build right off of you guys and go to my worst scene. So I hated the end scene for 2 reasons. One, the 8-year-old girl was in the room the whole time and somehow was unsaved. Never got hurt, nothing.
She also doesn't run away.
It doesn't run away, which pissed me off. The stepdad like watches some of it once he gets there instead of running away with her. And at the same time, like, why didn't Ant-Man try to take him out of the room? If she's like, I get it, an 8-year-old freezes, right? Like, what do they call it? Fight or flight or whatever. Like, but she froze. Like, she's scared. She doesn't know what to do. So it's on you now as the father to take this out of the room somehow. And I know it's easier said than done because half the time they're
jostling
underneath the the carpet shag. Like you can't even see how small they are. But like too many things, visually speaking, cinematically speaking, it was cool for sure. The zooming in and out and how they filmed it was great. But I usually pick apart logistics more than the cinematic side. So logistically, I don't understand why she wasn't out of the room or why he didn't take the fight out of the room, and that just kind of pissed me off. Or, I'm sorry, why were there 40 police officers outside and none of them went in the house?
Yeah.
None of them. And I get it, they were scared too, but
Even just to investigate.
In Avengers, they're all on the ground fighting whatever the Chitauri, I forget the name, Chitauri, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's like Cap orders them around.
Yeah, like they're fighting them, but these guys shouldn't go up there for one little Ant-Man? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just pissed me off, logistically.
Yeah. It is cool when Ant-Man fights earlier in the movie where he fights and he they're shooting the guns and he literally runs up the gun. And that was cool. And then Michael Pena comes in and he's like, did I just save your life? Is it okay?
There's so many great little scenes. Or when Hope takes over and she has the ants stop the gun from firing. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That little things
That
like
was
that.
cool.
I mean, this movie was very cool overall.
Yeah.
What do you guys have for worst scenes?
All right, I'll just go in.
Yeah, go for it.
My worst scene. So, what's the villain's name? I'm drawing a blank right here.
Darren Cross.
Cross. Yep.
That's the actor's name or the guy's name?
The actor's name is Corey Stoll.
Oh, but the character's name, Darren Cross. Okay.
We see earlier in the movie. This is my worst scene, but they bring in a lamb because he's trying to perfect this technology. They bring in a lamb, and they try to shrink it down to size, and someone makes a comment like, "I thought we were controlling mice," and he's like, "Well, what's the difference?" And it kind of shows how heartless he is.
Yeah.
And obviously, the lamb gets turned into that small loogie-looking goop thing, and it didn't work. Later in the film, when he actually does somewhat perfect the shrinking technology, they don't show any breakthrough for that. All of a sudden, it just shows him in the same room, and he just hits a button, and it works.
It was just the next test subject.
And it just works.
Did you change the formula? Anything? What made it work? I agree.
No breakthrough.
Yeah, and so we're logistically speaking on this end for me, and it just kind of pissed me off because part of what Michael Douglas's character and Hope were saying, they're like, we have this advantage right now because he can't figure this out.
Right.
He can't, he has a twisted mind, but he can't perfect how to shrink people. And then all of a sudden he just does it, and they don't tell you why or how or what clicks.
Yeah. I
just think it could have been it wouldn't have even taken 3 minutes more in the film to add in just we did this and this is what's going to work and this is what's different than the last test.
Yeah, because he goes to the house, but then they have that scene where Ant-Man folds the plans up, right? So he doesn't see them. So I don't think he ever gets the plans.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I assume, as a viewer standpoint, that he didn't get to the plans unless he got there earlier than them and photoed them.
That's what we're led to believe.
But we don't know.
Well, no. So at the end, he knew that Hope was there.
Yeah, he said he went there to kill.
So he knew that they were coming. He knew something was going on because remember, once he gets through the laser in that little thing,
that's cool.
And he pulls out the Wasp suit or the Hornet suit. Technically, it's the Hornet, right?
He traps him.
Yeah, he traps him in there. He tells him, I knew this was happening. Hope, and I knew, you were at his house, blah, blah, blah.
But he didn't know about the shrink. Like Garrett said, he didn't get a breakthrough, though.
No.
But, go ahead, sorry.
No, sorry. So is that what you guys are talking to as far as the plans?
Yeah, well Garrett's saying, he just figured out how to shrink things, but, we never saw a breakthrough.
Found out why, unless he stole it from his house that night.
Yeah, but
there's no way those plans would be out.
But we see that Scott shrinks down and actually rolls the plans up.
Yep.
So it's
So I'm just...
Yeah.
I don't know. He must... If he did get to him sooner, we didn't know about it.
It's a plot hole, for sure, I think.
Yeah, definitely some gaps.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to edit this out, because...
No worries.
I'm trying to think.
Cheers.
There were scenes for me. I think that bathroom scene where Cross, he presents this, I guess, to... Are they, buyers?
Yeah, they're buyers, for sure.
Probably,
Probably in the military field.
Because he does say, I can't go to the buyers with half a breakthrough or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he says something like that. Which is why he's, telling Hope that they're, just taking these lambs in and out. But that doesn't speak for the fact that he's not making progress. He just keeps doing the same tests. But yeah, that scene where he goes in the bathroom and he's like, oh yeah. First, he's like waiting for him. The guy's like taking a piss and he's like waiting for him. Like scares the guy.
Yeah, he does startle.
And he's like, "Oh, here you go." He's like, hands him like a tissue or whatever, and he's like, "I'm sorry you didn't like my presentation or whatever." And then he just shoots him with like the shrink ray and turns him into that like goop, and then he like just cleans him up, and then
terrible scene. How do you like?
That is a good.
If you're
like,
that dude's gonna be worth millions, or at least representing someone that's worth millions,
Someone's
and not billions of
looking for
dollars.
him.
Exactly.
Also,
And you're in a facility that's so high tech that there's security cameras around every corner.
They know who went in the bathroom, who came out. Like
exactly.
That scene was terrible.
So that would not be hard to track down what happened in there.
Exactly.
You're obviously going to be like a wanted suspect too, because it's
Yep.
like, yeah. So that was like the one scene that really sticks out for me. I don't think I can really find another like worse scene. There's just so many scenes I really like in this movie. I thought Bobby Cannavale's character, the stepdad, was a little one-dimensional.
Yeah,
It's not really a worse scene, but kind of like I don't know. I just thought he was just like always aggressive. Or like Ant-Man, after he's fighting Wasp, not Wasp. What is it, the Hornet? What's
The Hornet. Yep.
Yeah, he's fighting him before he puts him in the bug zapper, and then like he goes big and he's like Scott, what are you doing? And then he just he's like, I need to tell you something, and he just tases him.
Yeah.
And we were like, dude, that's aggressive. Like, why? Listen to what he has to say at least. Like,
Yeah. So strongest Avenger. Anyone got one right off the top of the head?
for me, it's Paul Rudd. It's Scott Lang. Like he makes it. I think Ant-Man is a very particular cast. I think where if you put like kind of a boring actor or actress in this role, I think Ant-Man sucks, or like I think Ant-Man's not going to do as well. Paul Rudd, I think, is just like so fun and so like loving and energetic, and like he plays kind of the same character in all of his movies, but everyone loves Paul Rudd. It's like,
Is it weird that I like that Paul Rudd is a short actor, and it just like visually speaking, it just makes more sense for me that someone 5'6" or 5'7" shrinks down to that than someone 6'2". Like, imagine like Thor shrinking down to like it just wouldn't make as much sense to me.
yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, he's just like a normal dude. I think
Yeah.
that's why like he is an Avenger. He comes from an Avenger, but like he really is like just like he falls into the powers kind of. He's just a thief, or he's just like a normal dude. He's like his life is kind of in shambles. He goes to visit his daughter at the beginning for a birthday party, and they're like, you need to leave, and he's like, dude, this is my daughter.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but you don't have a job. You're a thief. Like, so he has to get his life in order, and like he's just, I don't know, he's just a lovable dude. Like he has like the comedic relief going forward. Like in the following movies, we're not going to get into too much, but
Yeah.
I think Paul Rudd is just awesome in this movie, and like I had such a blast with him. But I think the whole cast really is just so good. Like we really liked that their group there with T.I. and Michael Pena and the guy from Dark Knight. But I think Paul Rudd is the one that sticks out the most.
Garrett, what do you think?
Oh, Paul Rudd. I mean, he has the biggest role in this film. I mean, Michael Douglas was a close second for me. I do enjoy Michael Douglas
He was good.
anything. And he was really good in this. But Paul Rudd's charisma kind of stole the show. He makes a very likable character, a very believable character. I think he's the first Avenger where you're like really kind of like, this is just an average guy.
Yeah, he's like down on his luck.
And yeah, and also just being like an ex-con, I think this is like, I think Winter Soldier was somewhat realistic to a point, especially because of like a lot of the weapons they use.
Yeah.
I think this movie with some of the like theft background and the heists, it was kind of some of the more realistic Marvel movies we've seen.
It fit the plot.
Yeah, and just so, but I think Paul Rudd nailed it, and I think I wouldn't recast this at all, so I would just go with him in this. His group of buddies are awesome, but the problem is they just don't have a big enough role for me to put them in the strongest Avenger.
Yeah, for me, like Paul Rudd's an obvious choice, so I'm just gonna mix it up. Like, of course, he's probably the strongest Avenger, but Hank Pym, Michael Douglas, straight through. I mean, from being a badass, like, I mean, he's in the military. He is considered a soldier when he was Ant-Man back in, the 70s and 80s, and he's a genius. He created the Pym particles and dove into the quantum realm. You saw how much respect Howard Stark had for him back in the 80s. And I loved, so that Mitchell Carson, he must have been somewhat high up in the military. Oh no, he was part of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the 80s. And he smashed his face off the desk right at the beginning of the movie.
He's like, yeah, he just kicked your ass. Imagine when he would do it, like
with the suit or something like that. Like, throughout the whole movie, he's so intelligent. He's methodical. The whole thing is planned out. He'd been watching Paul Rudd for a long time. Like, He knew what he wanted to do, and he executed it, and he was between bringing the tank into the place and being able to blow it up, developing all the little ants, different types of ants that can fly, can like.
He's a great mentor.
Oh, so cool. I mean, he puts fury on his ass, and I know it's like a different character, but as far as like you just used the word mentor, like as far as a mentor and a leader, he was so good, so good. He like. Blown away, and I'm with Garrett. I love Michael Douglas, like Wall Street and all that stuff. Like
me too.
He blows me.
He could have been my strongest. It was. I think we all kind of agree.
Paul Rudd's the lead character, and he was phenomenal.
They're kind of 1A.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What about Baby Arms? What do you guys have for weakest? Anybody want to go first? Oh, you know what? I'll go first because you guys were giving me shit earlier for.
Go ahead.
Read it off.
Baby Arms for me. It's got to be what's the main guy's name?
Bad guy?
Cross?
Darren Cross?
Yeah, I like him as an actor. We talked about, I think he's in House of Cards is where I know him from. Although I think he kind of plays the same type of character in House of Cards where he just seems like he's always kind of that angry guy where he's like, he's the villain and like we talked about, he doesn't really have like, he just like moving forward with test results no matter what and moving forward with this no matter what. And it's like, his motivation is just like power and destruction. And it's like, almost a little similar to Ultron last week that we talked about. But I just thought he's a good actor. I just thought I was like, what are his real motivations? I mean, he's obviously envious of Hank for the suit and he wants the suit, but I think he would have tried to strike like a partnership with Hank or something. I don't know. I don't think he does do that.
Well, he was Hank's like assistant, and Hank gave him the company to run it.
Oh right.
And he developed Cross. And Hank would never give up the Pym particles, and it was almost to the point where Cross knew he had it, but they never talked about it. And I think that's what pissed Cross off so much, and that's what Cross ran after. And that's, I don't know if you remember, the first presentation they do with the buyers there, they show like videos from like the 80s when Hank wore the suit, and Hank was like, you could tell he was like, how the fuck did you get these?
That's true.
So I don't think Cross knew about it at all. Or, like, he wasn't supposed to know about it at all. Exactly. He was supposed to be a tall tale.
Yeah, I just, like, there's a scene where he, he's shooting in the plane, but it's, like, such an unrealistic scene because he's just, like, firing the gun, and they're like...
He shoots a suitcase, like...
When he's small, and he's like, dude, you, like... They're like, stop. Like, you're just shooting... Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he has, like, a ton of motivation.
I'll just follow up right with you. I mean, any of the bad guys in this I thought were terrible. So, Darren Cross was awful. I hated... Paxton, the stepdad, Bobby.
He's not as much of a villain, I think. He's kind of like a character in the way.
And then Mitch Carson, who's
that?
He's the guy who was like the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. at one point in the middle.
Oh yeah.
For me, with Darren Cross, like you said, he was over the top the whole time. Like the whole time, and he was way out in the open. Everyone knew he was evil. He straight up told Hank Pym that he was working with Hydra and was going to sell it to Hydra. Like, it was over the top.
He's like, they don't do that anymore, or whatever. And it's like, yeah, they do.
Way too abrupt, way too cocky the whole time. I don't want to say it was bad acting. It was a terrible character for me. It was just like, you knew he was the bad guy right away.
I don't think it's, like, I agree. I don't think it's bad acting. I think it's bad direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Garrett?
I was going to go Hank, but I'm not.
Hank is your worst?
No, sorry. I screwed that up. Not Hank.
I was going to say, damn.
Cross. But I'm not. I'm going to go Hope, actually, because, and reason being, after just thinking about it, how much did she flip-flop in the early part of this movie? Like, she's helping Cross. She's against her father. We also find out she's the reason why her father's not in control of the company anymore.
Bit of a double cross, you know?
And then she double backs on all of that and goes back to him to kind of overthrow Cross. And it's like, all right, well, you're definitely part of the problem here, and you finally realize it a little bit too late. I think her character was kind of hollow. We saw her in the montage teaching, Paul Rudd how to fight and all that, but there wasn't much there. Other than her just flip-flopping on, whose side of science she wants to be on. And then when she realizes, what Cross is up to, she's finally smartens up and goes, I kind of screwed this whole situation up. I should probably join the people that are going to make right by this. And I just think she was the weakest Avenger. kind of like last week when I picked the person who just created Tony Stark, the person who created the problems in this film. I think she created the problems in this film by overthrowing her own father on the board and control of his company and gave it to Cross.
Yeah, she's like the connecting tissue too. Between the movie is probably way different because like Cross goes there and he says like I was there to kill you, but I saw hope there, and so in a way she saves him, but like it's like I don't know. It is weird to have her on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like a double agent almost, but yeah. What do you guys give this for a score out of 10?
Oh man, this was a good movie and I related it to Guardians, but I'm actually higher on this than I am on Guardians. So for me, I give this an 8-1. It's gonna put it right in the middle of the pack for me, towards the lower half, and I think I take the overall universe a little more seriously. So as much as I enjoy the comedic side of this, I'm in it more for the serious side. So it was a great overall movie, but it's an 8-1 for me.
There is a line though which I didn't pick up on where he's talking to Paul Rudd initially about the thing, and he's like, "Okay, what do you think we should do?" He's like, "Well, first thing we should do is call the Avengers."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," because like we touched a couple movies ago. I forget when it was, but we talked about how it was weird that they don't say like, "Why aren't you calling the Avengers?"
Yeah.
And then, so in this one, and I think he said like, I think Hank says like they're busy or they're doing other stuff or whatever, but.
Well, so he does have his little fight with Falcon.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
when he tries to steal that
that's one
tech.
of the best scenes. We didn't touch on that, but that's a really good scene.
It is a really good scene.
He has an adult male has shrinking ability or whatever.
Yep, and both Hank and Hope are like, get out of there, like don't do it, you're gonna ruin the mission.
It's an old Stark. What do they say? It's like an old Stark building or something.
Old Stark warehouse.
And then it's the Avengers logo.
Yeah.
That was cool.
So then, and then at the end, they show the scene that Falcon's looking for him to recruit him, which, foreshadowing they're going to use him in the next movie.
Falcon's super cool, too, because we've now seen him in a couple movies.
When Falcon loses that, it's also a funny line when he's like, don't tell Cap.
Don't tell Cap,
yeah.
Don't tell Cap about this.
Because he's introduced in Winter Soldier, right?
Yep. So this is the second movie.
So, yeah, and Falcon is always cool.
Anthony Mackie, right?
Yeah, Anthony Mackie's always great, but yeah, that's a cool scene because he's like Paul shrinking now, but then like he can still see him through his goggles.
And he breaks the goggles, yeah.
Yeah, and he breaks the goggles. Yeah, that's cool, but he's like flying around and stuff. But it's weird. It's funny because Paul shows up, or Scott, I should say, and he's like, "Oh, I just need here to get some technology," but then like he doesn't let him explain until they start fighting. And
yeah. It was a good scene.
But although also in that scene he does get this. What is he trying to get? Like a.
It's a little. I forget what it's called.
It's like a little radio. I don't know what it is, but like.
It wasn't vibranium, was it?
No.
No.
It honestly looked like something to.
It was like a square thing with the blue liquid on the inside.
Well, he gets it, but we don't ever see him get it, so that was kind of weird because Hank is yelling at him, and he's like, "That's embarrassing," and then he just puts it on the table, and he's like, "You got it."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Good job," and he's like, "Did you just compliment me?" It's like.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So how would you guys score it? I gave it an 8-1.
I'm actually at an 8-1 myself.
Okay.
I put it up higher than most for me because, like I said earlier, kind of hits home on the Winter Soldier type feel where it's, obviously, like, the Honey, I Shrunk My Kids element isn't super realistic, but the heists, him being a criminal, him being, I don't know if a divorced dad or a single dad and still trying to win the love of his daughter, a lot of it felt more realistic than your average Marvel movie. So I really like that aspect of it. Really like the supporting cast in it with T.I. and just dude from Observe and Report. What's his name? Michael Pena. Like awesome.
He's really good in this movie.
Just comedic relief. Michael Douglas was awesome. It's the reason why I rank it so high is just I originally never read comics, so I didn't know who Ant-Man was. And when this movie came out, I was like, oh, this just sounds so gimmicky. It sounds awful. Like, Ant-Man, like, we have Ant-Man as a superhero. And then I finally watched the movie, and I'm like, wow, Ant-Man's kind of badass. Like, so that really kind of boosted my ratings, because I didn't expect a person to be called Ant-Man to be such a cool action figure.
For me, full transparency, I didn't watch it until Infinity War and Endgame were coming out, because same thing as Garrett, I didn't think it was going to be that cool, and I saw him in Civil War and I was like, okay, kind of a funny character, pretty badass, like what he can do, like the different things he can do, and then I don't know, I just kind of pushed it off for whatever reason. There's only a few more movies between Civil War and those, but And then I was like, you know what? I need to see Ant-Man. Oh, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp came out, and that might have been what pushed me to go see it.
It had a sequel,
Yeah.
so you knew it must have been somewhat good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I went
exactly.
backwards to watch it, and it was good. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit higher on this movie than you. Well, I think we're all high on this movie, but I know our scores are a little different. I'm gonna give this an 8.6. Like I think this is good. Talk about like replayability. This is up there for me. Where like I just had a blast watching this movie.
The development's so cool. I mean, it is a great movie.
Yeah, the start to finish. Even though like my baby arms was the villain Cross, like he still is entertaining.
Yeah.
So like I think the cast is good. I just love the little dynamic between Scott's crew and even Hope. Like I know she's a little one dimensional in this movie, but I love Evangeline Lilly, so I'm a big Lost fan too. So, but I just this is just a really fun movie from start to finish. I just had a good time. The soundtrack is good. Like it's just like an upbeat movie really for the most of the time. Even though they do have those parts that you touched on, Garrett, like. You know, he can't see his daughter. He like initially goes to his daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
And they're like, you need to get out of here, which is like heartbreaking. I don't have kids personally, but like
I'd lose it.
I know like in an alternate world, Vic, if you were Scott Lang and you know you were getting small, maybe you
no one's kicking me out of my daughter's birthday party.
Yeah, exactly. You would have been there just chilling. So,
Exactly.
But yeah, 8.6 for me. I think this is one of the better ones.
Cool. So I'll rank it. I actually have 3 8.1s on my list, and it's right down in the middle. So I have Iron Man 2. I put just above Ant-Man, and then just above Thor: Dark World.
So what number does this go for you?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8 out of 13 for me.
Okay, so a little bit in the middle, a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, in the bottom half, but just barely.
Just barely, yeah. Cool. What about you, Garrett?
Got it at number 5.
Oh, so it just sneaks into your top 5?
Sneaks into my top 5, makes it. It's below Captain America 1, but I just snuck it above Black Panther. It was tough to do, but I really enjoyed. I'm a big Ant-Man fan. Ant-Man won me over when I totally wrote it off when it came out, so I'll back it. I'll put it in my top 5 for now.
Yeah. Wow, top 5, that's high.
It is.
Interesting.
I'm gonna go. This is gonna go in a number 5 for me as well.
Okay.
So for me, I got again using Vic's phone here. So if this looks really weird, then just ignore it. We got Winter Soldier 1, Captain America 1, the first Avenger. Then we got Black Panther, Iron Man 2, and then this is gonna slide into 5. So actually above the original Iron Man for me.
Interesting.
Because this is just a good time. So
cool. So what do we got next after these?
So next up, we got the big one. We got Civil War next.
Wow.
Yep, and then Doctor Strange after that. So a couple good ones. I mean, I think from here on out, it's like there's just hit after hit.
Yeah.
Like, we're starting to get into like the big ones. So just a little sneak peek here. So I don't know how much of this is in the shot, but we got Civil War. Then we got Doctor Strange. We got Guardians 2. Then we have Homecoming, which is great. Then we have Ragnarok. So I know we're all really excited about that one. We did Black Panther already. Then we got Infinity War, and then we got Ant-Man and the Wasp, the sequel. Then we got Captain Marvel, then Endgame. So like pretty much from here on out, it's like it's heavy hitters the rest of the way. So I think we might be seeing a lot of movies cracking the top 5 going forward.
A lot of movement in the rankings. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
cool.
But yeah, that's our review of Ant-Man. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, like, comment, subscribe. If you can, watch the other MCU movies that we got. We're making our way through the MCU here. And until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Peace.